All right, so the next thing is we want to compare fractions. Which one's bigger? Which one's smaller? That's what we want to do now. And so what we need to do is we need to make the fractions involved in the comparison have a common denominator, and then we compare the two numbers, okay? Now, you can use the number line or look at the numerators only, depending on what's easier for you, okay? But you have to have that common denominator before you can just look at the numerators. All right, so if we look at this, we have 8 and we have 2. Well, 8, we said that was 2 and 4, and that was 2 and 2. So we have three twos there, and we only have that one two there. And so it looks like the common denominator is actually going to be 8. So what we have then is we have to get the 1/2 to that new common denominator. So what do we have to do to get this to have 8 for the LCD? Because we said the LCD is just 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Here's only 1, 2, here's 3. Well, we have to take that times 4 over 4. Okay, and so that gives us a negative 4/8. And so now what we're looking at is a negative 3/8 and a negative 4/8, which is the negative 1/2. Okay. Now, which one of those is bigger? All right. Well, let's think about this. If we want to look at a number line, let's do that way. Okay, so we're going negative, so we're going to start at 0, and then, it's both of these are less than 1, so let's call that a negative 1. So if we go halfway in here, that's going to be, well, guess what? That's going to be negative 4/8 if we're going to use this as 8s because we need to have that. Now, if we go to negative 4/8, that's negative 1/2. But if we go only to negative 3/8, that's before it. So we're going this way, and so negative 3/8 is before the negative 4/8. Now, if we're comparing which one is bigger, the one on the right side is always bigger. Now, this one's confusing because, if we would have started with, say, here's 0, and here's, I don't know, 2, and we found like a half, and we found 3/2, so they're common denominator. Which one's bigger? Well, thinking about that, that's 1 1/2, that's a half. So we can say 3/2 is greater than 1/2, and the one on the right's bigger. Well, so same thing works here. The one on the right is bigger than the one on the left. So this one is the one on the right. It's bigger than the one on this side, which is a 4/8. Or if we use our original numbers, negative 3/8 is bigger than a negative 1/2. Okay. And we're just taking, again, we're just writing it in order here. So negative 3/8, negative 1/2. And so putting it back into the original fractions, that is going to be greater than this one. And again, we had to plot them on a number line. And so, if we went through it, it's going to be, negative 1/8, negative 2/8, negative 3/8, negative 4/8, negative 5, 6, 7, 8. Then negative 8/8 is going to give us a negative 1. Okay, and so that's how we're going to have to go across. And then you can also think about it if just the numerators. If we had a negative 4 and a negative 3, which one is bigger? Well, 3 is further to the right than 4, and so it's going to be bigger than that one. Or when we write it back down into, which one was first, 3/8 versus the negative 1/2, the negative 3/8 is bigger than the negative 1/2. All right, what about here? Well, we have 3 and we have 7. Well, those are both prime, and so it's basically going to be our LCD is going to be 3 times 7, or 21. So now we need to have a negative 2 over 3 times what will give us that 21. Well, we have to multiply by 7 over 7. Negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. Now we have a negative 8 over 7 times what is going to give us the 21. Well, 7 times 3 is 21, so 3 over 3. Negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. So again, we could think about this on the number line. We could go, that's 0. And then this is going to be over here, as we go left. And if we just look at the numerator now, well, what comes first? Well, first comes negative 14. And then we get over here, that's negative 24. Now the side over here is larger than the side over here because it's more positive. And so which one is the one with negative 14? That's the negative 2/3. So we're going to say negative 2/3 is greater than negative 8/7. Okay. And again, we're just using the number line. This time we didn't use the fraction part. We just looked at the numerator part. And we said that that negative 2/3 was greater than that negative 8/7. All right. What about the next one? 7/24 and 5/36. 24 and 36. Well, we already looked at something like that before if we think about it. 24 and 36. That means our LCD is 72. So we're going to skip this step because I remembered we did something like that already. So I wanted to scroll back. And so 72 is going to be our LCD. And so LCD is equal to 72 by 3 pages before. Okay, so we've already done it, so we don't have to do that. And so now we have to think about it. 7/24 times what gives us something over 72? Well, we're going to have to take 24 times 3 to get 72. And if you think about it, 24 times 3, 3 times 4 is 12, carry 1, 6 plus 1 is 7. So then we have, that's how we get to there. So now we have 7 times 3 is 21. Now 5/36, what do we have to multiply here to get the 72? Well, 36 times 2 is going to give us 72. So 5 times 2 is 10. Now this one's a lot easier because these are positive numbers. So, we don't even have to think too hard about that, So if this is 0, now we can look at, the numerators and denominators combined. We can look just at the numerators. So if we look at it as a fraction, 10/72 is going to come here, and then we go over here a little over twice as far. That's 21/72. And so this one is bigger. Now we could also looked at just 10 and 21, and we know 21 is bigger than 10, so we could have done it just with numerators once we got that common denominator. And so which one's bigger? That means 7/24 is greater than 5/36. So we can't base it just on the fact that 7 is bigger than 5 because that's not always how it's going to work, because we saw over here 8's bigger than 2, but in the end, the negative 2/3 was bigger than a negative 8/7 because once we got the common denominator, that's when we started looking at it and figuring out, which one's further left, which one's further right. And the same thing goes here. This one is further to the right than this one, and it's positive direction now, so it's a little easier to think about too. And so that's where we get our final answer here. So that's going to be the 7/24 fraction is greater than the 5/36. And that's all I have for this section.